ladies and gentlemen. They're saying more than 60% of the migrants that come here are on welfare and other assistance. And the vast majority are not here to work. They're here to take. And they're not even trying to hide that fact that they're just here to take. So let's get into this story. So, nearly 3 in 5 illegal immigrant households are on taxpayer funded welfare, study found. So, this is pretty recent, y'all, that they came out with these numbers. And they said a lot of these folks are not working, but they do have at least one US born child. So, I'm going to go ahead and play this video, and I'll be right back with the rest of my commentary.
Economic impact of Biden's border crisis. A new report from the Center for Immigration Studies show nearly 3 in 5 illegal immigrants households are on taxpayer-funded welfare support. Steve Cabrera is the research director at the Center for Immigration Studies, and he joins us now. So 60% of the folks that are coming here illegally are being supported by the taxpayer. So what happened to all of these folks saying they're giving to society?
Right. So what happens is very often illegal immigrants have U.S.-born children. Most illegal immigrant-headed households have a U.S.-born child, so they get the benefits on behalf of a U.S.-born child. The reason that they qualify is because they're so poor. And the reason they're poor is that most, but by no means all, illegal immigrants tend to have very modest levels of education, so they do work. This is not because they don't work. This is because they work, but they make very low income. And I think what a lot of people don't realize is if you work but make low income, you qualify for everything from food stamps to free school lunch to the WIC program to public housing to the earned income tax credit. So working doesn't preclude welfare use. And what we're seeing is a lot of illegal immigrants do find jobs, but they're poor, and so they and often their children qualify for these programs.
Steve, it shouldn't be a surprise to us, though. These folks are coming to the country illegally, so they don't have the proper documentation. Many of them don't speak English, and many of them are paid under the table. And the reason why they're paid under the table is because it's cheap labor. Americans would do those jobs, but they want a fair wage. These people they're on a slave-based labor system where no one reasonable person would take those jobs for that pay, right?
Well, that certainly happens. And just by their presence here, they tend to lower wages because they're increasing the supply of workers at the bottom end of the labor market. However, the difference between what happens when illegal immigrants have work authorization and don't isn't enormous if the illegal immigrant themselves has very modest skills. And that's often very true. So again, yes, it's true that when they work off the books, sometimes they work for less. But it's really the case that they're just very modestly educated. And that's one of the main reasons they use so much welfare. And because they're poor, many states like New York and California step in and cover illegal immigrants with welfare programs, too. And that's what we're picking up partly in the study as well. So it isn't just the presence of the children, but it's the political pressure because you have all these poor people in your state.
So, Steve, you've been tracking this, and I know you're just a researcher. Do you see any appetite in Congress to get something done? Because there's a magnet. If you're looking at this program or these programs and you're saying, look, 60% of us have a shot of being on this, you'll keep coming to the country.
Right. There has to be some effect for this, right? However, I do think it's fair to say most illegal immigrants come to America not so much to get welfare, but to work. But they have children, they struggle, and then turn to the American taxpayer for support. It's going to be very hard once you've let people in, so many of them with modest education and low income, not to end up having them use these programs because, as is the case, we give automatic citizenship to their U.S.-born children. You either enforce the law and don't have so many illegal immigrants and reduce the problem, or you accept the cost if you're going to be letting a lot of unskilled people into your country.
What a novel idea, Steve. Just enforce the law. I hope they're watching. We appreciate you breaking down the numbers with us.
Thanks for having me.
You got it, Steve.
Well, y'all, these migrants are not the only ones that had tons of money poured on them. Remember, they brought people over from Afghanistan. They brought Ukrainians over and they did nothing but pour money on them. Remember, they put them in Airbnbs. Many of them got placed in locations and didn't even have to pay rent. They could live rent free. And now you have these folks coming, and these folks are pretty blatant. All right. They're letting you know they're coming to be taken care of. The vast majority are not working. The vast majority are on all kinds of assistance here and have no intentions on working. You brought in a class of people that are committing crimes. Didn't y'all always say that, oh, well, these immigrants, they contribute to society? Really? These folks are stealing and got crime rings and prostitution rings going. That's contributing to your society? Uh huh. Well, then I guess you'll just believe anything. These folks aren't contributing anything. They're here with their hand out and they're gonna keep it out. So that's a pretty big number and that's a lot of taxpayer money. I would love to see the numbers that they have spent on Afghanistan, because there's also Russians that came over too, Ukrainians, and now you got all of these people from south of the border. Y'all, they have to pay well into the billions at this point. Had to, had to. And yeah, it's the American dream for them, but it certainly is not for those that were born on the soil. It's definitely not that for us. But you now see who American society prefers to cater to. You know, Nobody is telling them to pull themselves up by the bootstraps. Nobody's telling them don't take no handouts. Nobody's telling their sobby stories about my family came here with $1 in their pocket. Y'all not around these immigrants telling them not to be on assistance. Don't have anything to say. The only time they want to come around and say these things is to the black community. And we were never the biggest ones on welfare. I bet you if you look at who's on welfare now, I bet you the white community and these migrants would far outnumber us on welfare. I'm not on welfare, but I know it's not that many on welfare. Y'all greatly exaggerate these things. So, y'all, isn't that amazing? And nobody is even looking at. When was the last time we heard a Brett Favre story? He down there stealing welfare funds, and we don't even hear about that story anymore. It's like it's gotten buried. If we don't go looking for it, then we won't know anything about it. Here you got this multi-millionaire who made more money than the average person alive, and he's got to steal money for welfare funds to build a volleyball stadium. So, y'all, you're going to have to tell me what you think about these migrants, more than 60% coming over and going on welfare, and not a peep out of the same people complaining about reparations. They seem to be very silent about all of this stuff going on. It's just amazing. Where's Karen? Where's Darren? Where's your cops that are just eyeballing for us just to walk up and stop us randomly? Where's the police dogs? I mean, come on, you don't have none of that stuff. And these folks got crime rings and committing crimes on a regular basis all across America. Boy, it is really out in all of you. It really is. It's really revealing the real truth about this society. Please leave your comment and subscribe. Don't forget to hit on the notification bell, and I'll see you on the next video. Peace, family.